What is up guys, Jules here, and in today's episode I want to show you how to play Gauntlett+Wand, Tormentor or Mystic, however you want to call it, and I will show you that this class is definitely one of the top 3 classes for the upcoming Archboss. I will teach you everything you need to know in this video, from runes to masteries to your skills, so let's dive right in. Now let's start things off by establishing what is the base foundation of this class and what makes the Tormentor so good to play. And for that, we need to look into the weapons that we are playing and look at the buffs that we can take with ourselves. So let's start off with the wand. Firstly, we have Time for Punishment, which will turn into enchanting time once we put the first skill spec in it. At the maximum level, it will grant us 244 skill damage boost for our own or for a designated party member. Next up we have Bless Barrier, which will turn into Valorous Barrier once we take the first spec point from it, which will allow us at maximum level to give us or a designated party member 98 max damage. This is it for our wand buffs. Now let's have a look at the gauntlets. First of all, we have Eclipse of Blood. While the effect is active, boosts your damage by 21% and increases the base damage of Claw by 100%. We don't care about the second part, we only care about the first part, about the 21% damage increase. In addition to that, once we activated this ability, all of our other abilities will transcend into the Eclipse of Blood mode, where we come to our second ability that we want to use, which is the Threat boost. Once we're in Eclipse of Blood, Threat will turn into Brilliant Moonlight, which gives us another 7% damage boost. Once our skill hit level 21, we want to take all 3 spec points there so we can buff our team by 7% base damage and also regain stamina once we use this ability. In addition, the leftmost enchantment will help us to boost our additional base damage by another 20% on top of it. Now that we have established our 4 basic skills that we always want to take, the Enchanting Time, the Valorous Barrier, Eclipse of Blood, and Brilliant Moonlight, let's head over to our other skills that we use. For the Gauntlet skills, I will explain all of them while being in the Eclipse of Blood, so it will make things much easier for you to follow. As a Gauntlet player, we have something that is called Bleed. Bleed works similar to curses. Let me explain you how it works. Every time we attack a target with a claw or with a claw attack, we will apply 1 bleed stack to the target. This is because we play with the Bloody Claws passive. Attacks with claws apply bleed effect on hit, boosts bleed damage by 38%. Bleed is the same as the bleed effect from consecutive claws. So not only do our consecutive claws now proc the bleed effect, all of our auto attacks and all of our claw attacks will proc it as well, meaning our Bloodstorm will also proc it. Which brings us to our third ability that we use from the gauntlets, the Blood Explosion, which deals 720% plus 85 damage to targets within 2 times the attack range, increases damage against bleeding targets by 8% per stack, and removes their bleed stacks. So as of right now, I can't really show you this, because once I press it, you will see it does not take down the fresh blood stacks. See, we are still at the maximum amount of fresh blood. Which brings us to our next passive that we're gonna take, Momentum, and we care about the second part. When consecutive claws is used with 100 fresh blood stacks, increases critical damage by 10% for 2.2 seconds. Which leads us to our first important thing you need to always look at when doing a rotation, and that is that when you have consecutive claws up, you want to press it. You always want to use this one on cooldown, which will lead us to our final passive, Hardening. You want to take Hardening because you will replace the effect via Blood Red Frenzy, and it changes Hardening to increase block chance by 0.5% per bleeded. And since we're in the Blood stance, this means we have a higher chance to activate our offhand, which in our case is the wand, which means we can apply Corrupted Hit with our attacks much more frequently. For our final gauntlet skill, we play with Absorbing Grasp, because it is a really nice gap closer if we need it. For our wand skills, we play with our basic set of curses. First of all, Touch of Despair, Corrupted Magic Circle, and last but not least, Curse Explosion. Corrupted Magic Circle will affect our target with another curse, as you can see, and this curse counts into Curse Explosion, making it much more effective. Since we play with the version that uses up our curses when we press Curse Explosion, we want to make sure that we have at least 2 stacks of Touch of Despair onto the target before we use our Curse Explosion. In the most cases, the passive I'm showing you next will apply a 3rd hit before we can use Curse Explosion again. Speaking about the passives, this is the passive I meant. Corrupted Hit, a successful basic attack, has a 15% chance to apply Touch of Despair, Decaying Touch, or Time for Punishment to a monster. For my final skill, I'm playing with Obliterating Swamp at the moment. I'm not quite sure if this is the best in slot, it still needs testing. Maybe you can also take, for example, Slothful Cage, or even play without the passive and play with the top right with Malicious Intent instead of Dark Apostasy. I'm not quite sure about this, so this one needs a little bit more testing to be 100% accurate. Let me quickly show you which skill specializations we take, so you can copy them into your build. Now that we have talked so much about the skills, you might ask yourself, Jules, but what about the other passive skills? And let me go quickly through you with them. First of all, we take Full of Corruption because we have a mastery I will show you later on that increases our magic damage simply by 7.8%. We have Devotion and Emptiness to increase our skill damage over time and decrease our skill cooldown of curses by 10% at night. I will show you the day and night setup later. Next up we have Wraith's Beacon, increases the user's curse duration by 3.3 seconds and the curse chance by 4%, which we want because mentioned earlier, we will hold the wand in our offhand. Next up we have Noble Revival. With our mastery, this will increase our damage 3.02% per 1000 max mana. And last but not least, Vampiric Contract. Every time we put a skill on ourselves that would heal us, instead of healing us, it will deal damage to the target. And then we have one of the new masteries that got introduced with Nyx, Curse Resonance. Let me shortly explain to you in which cases you want to use this. First of all, if you're the person using this, you want no other person in your party to use this, because you share the Curse Resonance proc with every other person using it, meaning you want to be the only one that is using it, or a party member. Next up, how does it proc? It can only be procced by people being in your attack range. By this it means the attack range of the wand. For example, I have 20 meters of attack range with my wand, so every person inside my 20-meter radius around me can trigger this passive for me, and the more hits they do, the more often I will proc Curse Resonance going into my damage pool. If you're on your day setup and you're the person using it, you want to take Curse Resonance instead of Full of Corruption. If you're on your night setup, on the other hand, you want to use Curse Resonance instead of either Wraith's Beacon, or if it's a really short fight, instead of Momentum. Because on short fights or fights where you often go away from the boss, you will not be able to reach the 100 fresh blood stacks. So this is my recommendation on when to use it and what passives to slot out if you're the person taking it. So now let me show you how those masteries or passives change once we're in day or in night setup. During your day setup, you want to play like this. You want to take Malicious Focus instead of Light of Devotion. During your night setup, you want to change the points so that you can play with Light of Devotion instead of Malicious Focus. For the Gauntlet, let me show you your most important ones. First off, as mentioned earlier, Blood Red Frenzy. If you happen to run out of stamina or struggle with stamina, you can take endurance training with physique training and slot out the hardening passive. You will lose a bit of damage, but you will gain much more stamina regen and more survivability and more chances to block. For that same exact reason, we play with Turning the Tide, because every time we successfully block, we can restore 12 stamina. For your overall mastery skills, you want to play with Battle Prep, Survival Enhancement, Potential, and Guardian's Awakening. Now that we have established our skill set, let me show you how a proper rotation on this class looks like. First of all, we want to start with Eclipse of Blood, going into the Blood mode, into Valorous Barrier, into Brilliant Moonlight, into Enchanting Time. Then we want to use Corrupted Magic Circle onto our target, use Touch of Despair into Consecutive Claws, into Bloodstorm, into Consecutive Claws again, into Touch of Despair, into Curse Explosion, into our Blood Explosion, and then we simply gonna buff ourselves up again and press whatever is up. Since most of your damage in this class comes from either the curses or the consecutive claws, it is important that you press those 3 spells every time you have them up. This is your main priority next to refreshing your buffs. Since under my last video I got the feedback that I should include a bigger build diversity, I went to other players that are playing this build and I told them specifically, do a dummy test on day setup, and I will now show you on stream the different results with the different builds that you can aim for. This build is from a friend of mine who plays with 4-piece Punisher and the Ascended Delos Noah gloves. Next up, we have a friend that plays with the Southpaw gloves and the 4-pieces Punisher. And last but not least, we have another person playing with the Delos Noah and the 4-piece Punisher. All of them use the Heroic Wand. For your runes, you want to play with max mana and magic heavy attack chance, so nothing special here. As of right now, I sadly couldn't find anyone playing with the Arctic gloves. If you happen to have the Arctic gloves, let me know what times you can reach, or like how does your damage output look like. I'm very interested in it. As for right now, I will link you my Questlogg down in the description so you can see which build I am aiming for. And that's so much it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a lovely evening. Good luck at the arch bosses, and let me know your feedback down in the comments. Thanks. Bye bye.